Well, did anyone else get flashbacks from the Chinese Grand Prix? That was quite the feeling. And no, I don't mean the fact that Bono shared a podium with Lewis Hamilton again. I mean the fact that we got the Italian anthem back and the German anthem back. It was like old times. I'm just going to say this right now for purely to bring back the memories. I don't care if Kimi Antonelli dominates the championship and wins every race from now, because I love the fact that we got the Italian national anthem and the German national anthem. Reminds us of the Sebastian Vettel days, reminds us of the Michael Schumacher days, real special times. I know it's the wrong way round, but unless we get Nico Hulkenberg at Ferrari, then we're not going to get it the other way around, are we? Let's face it. And if we do get Nico Hulkenberg at Ferrari, to match to German, then we'll have to obviously bring in a Brazilian teammate. So that's Gabby Wait, hold on. Hulkenberg and Bortoleto are teammates. Audi be Italian. I'm joking. What a special time. Lewis Hamilton getting his first podium for Ferrari. That was special. Bono being up there to support Antonelli for his first win, that was special. And it's kind of weird that in this podium, the odd one out was actually George Russell. But Toto Wolff doesn't see it that way. He sees it as a Mercedes 1-2-3. It was a special time for all. We've got stuff to drill into when it comes to the Chinese Grand Prix, of course, and we'll do the similar sort of thing, understated, underrated winners, and then talking points, a little bit of talking points, as well as the more political stuff, but we need to do almost a little bit of a tidying up, basically, on that. So, who is our understated and underrated winner? There was a few, actually, to be quite honest, right? There's a lot of chatter about Ollie Behrman, fifth in the championship, by the way, in a Haas. That's crazy. Has more points than Lando Norris, has more points than Oscar Piastri, has more points than Max Verstappen. Then you could also shout out Franco Colapinto. And by the way, Franco Colapinto was amazing. Got screwed over a little bit by strategy, and that kind of dropped him down the order a little bit, but, fair enough. I don't think anyone's really going to be pointing at Ocon, though. That was a kind of wild move from Ocon, and, he put his hands up to it, so fair play. It's nice to see a driver do that. But I'm going to say my understated driver, the one that went under the radar but did well, Pierre Gasly. Pierre freaking Gasly getting a P6 for Alpine, and actually Alpine did incredible. They've got a good car now, and really, really good to see. They did, got the strategy right. They got everything right, and let's be honest, it wouldn't have mattered either way when it came to the strategy of the safety car. I think it's fair to say that one of Gasly or Colapinto would have probably got P6 no matter what. If it was just a straightforward race, it would have been Colapinto. With the safety car, it was Pierre Gasly. Incredible stuff. Under the radar, like I say, did really, really, really well. In a similar way that Ollie Behrman was in no man's land in this sort of free area, Gasly was as well, but also fighting drivers off at the same time. So, really, really good stuff from Pierre Gasly. Well done. And Alpine, I misjudged you. You guys were terrible last year and deserved a lot of the criticism. I was expecting more of the same, and you guys actually delivered something decent. So, fair play. Well done. So, it's time to do the big discussion point, and I feel like we're going to be doing this discussion point every single F1 round with these new regulations. Is the racing actually any good? Depends who you ask. Lewis Hamilton loves it. Max Verstappen hates it. Of course, there's a bloody rivalry again between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. It's like I swear one of them is just wanting to disagree with the other one. But anyways, Understandably so, by the way. It's understandable for Max Verstappen to not be happy with the regulations because, let's be honest, he um, had to get, what was it, P6, P7 in Australia because of the weird crash that happened in the in the qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix, and then the engine blowing up in the Chinese Grand Prix. Understandable he's going to be a bit miffed, and understandable that Lewis Hamilton is going to be enjoying it, because, well, guess what? He's just got a fourth place and a podium, so yeah, things are looking good for Lewis Hamilton. Really, really good. So let's just have a look at the comments in detail of where we were at. You know, that Lewis Hamilton calling it awesome, the best racing experience in Formula One. Charles Leclerc on the other side was saying this battle's really fun. Max Verstappen saying, this is, if someone likes this, then you really don't know what racing is like. So, am I one of those that doesn't know what racing is like? Am I one of those that's enjoying the Formula One and enjoying the racing? I am. I am enjoying the racing. But I'm wondering, Max Verstappen, do you know what racing is like? Do you know what real racing is like? Because you see, the thing that made the racing special for the Chinese Grand Prix wasn't actually the gimmicks. Like, you can trade the gimmicks, right? Whether it be the boost, whether it be the DRS that we had, whether it be curves, no matter what it might be, right? You can say that the gimmicks do help. And by the way, again, as we mentioned in last week's one, gimmicks happen all the time. It's been going on since the 80s. Remember Nigel Mansell talking about the push to pass? And by the way, Nigel Mansell suggested bringing it back when we first started having these problems in terms of the DRS and the comments. Interesting. I think this guy knows what real racing is like. But like I say, I don't think it's that makes the racing exciting. It's not like we saw loads, all of the overtakes being on the final straight. That really long straight into a hairpin, which, by the way, would have been a perfect place to overtake. It was everywhere else. We were seeing the racing and the battling everywhere else. Now, I'm not going to show the full video, but there's a sort of like a boomerang clip that's going on the F1's website that kind of shows what I'm talking about here, which is this between Ferrari and Leclerc. These were happening throughout the sweeping corners, throughout the tight twisty bits together. And this is also showing what I found was so special about it. It wasn't that. Firstly, you're not going to be doing boosts and battery boosting around these corners. This is all about hard racing. Whether you've got a battery or not, it's all about your knowledge of the corner and how to race the corner. But it was more than that. These cars can actually follow each other. Have we forgotten that is what racing is meant to be like? Like karting. Cars are meant to be close enough to each other, and so that they can't race each other. We were in a situation in the DRS days where, because of everything that was going on, the wash and all that, drivers were struggling when they were within 2 seconds of each other. Now we're in the opposite, that when drivers are within 1.5 seconds of each other, the car behind seems to enjoy the air even more. Or at least the disturbance isn't as much as we thought. Leclerc and Hamilton were loving, we're having this dicey battle. Russell got involved. And I'm focusing on Ferrari here, of course, when it comes to this this boomerang video, but this was happening behind as well. Unless you're Max Verstappen, who couldn't get past Arvid Lindblad. This is what racing's about. We want cars close to each other. We want it so that drivers can have a bit of fun. And they were. This wasn't, there was a little bit of measurement or anything like that, but it was fun. And the fact that the person who lost out, Charles Leclerc, said, this is really fun racing, I think you've got to believe the Ferrari guys. Just my thought. Just my personal thought on it. I think the racing's good. This is how it should be. And like I say, it's got nothing to do with the boost and the gimmick and the engine. That's purely just in terms of the environmental factor. It's the fact that these cars are shorter, narrower, and simpler. None of them messing around. No complexities underneath. No complexities in the wings. This is pure, simple racing. Basic front wing, basic rear wing, small car in the middle. That's all you need. If anything, this feels like a flashback to the late 2000s. If anyone talks about like the most exciting racing time, if you're thinking about the 2020s, you perhaps need to look into history a little bit more. The times when it was when Michael Schumacher was dropping off a bit, when we had proper battles between Renault and McLaren, between Jarno Trulli, Fernando Alonso, Giancarlo Fisichella, Juan Pablo Montoya, Kimi Raikkonen. They were battling and dicing between each other because they were confident that the cars could handle it without any concerns. So yeah, I'm going to say it. I can't believe I'm saying this. Max Verstappen, you don't know real racing. I'm sure people have their comments on that. Anyway, let's pull away from the racing itself. We obviously had one bit of news that happened just before the Chinese Grand Prix started, which is the fact of obviously Bahrain and Saudi Arabia being cancelled as races. It means that we are having no races in April. The next race being the one in Japan from the 29th to the 31st of March. And then the next race after that is, I believe it's Imola, but 3rd of May. And look, I am disappointed in it in terms of Bahrain, right? I love the Bahrain Grand Prix. It's a great fun race. I think Bahrain and this would have been absolutely amazing. Saudi Arabia less so, but I think it would have been quite interesting to see Saudi Arabia because it would have allowed us to maybe get a glimpse to see, are we going to get a better Monaco Grand Prix? But that's how it is, right? And look, I'm not gonna talk about the political side of things, the reasons why and who's in the right, who's in the wrong, because let's be honest, there's two things about it. Firstly, I want this to be somewhat enjoyable as a video, but also you can make up your own mind. You don't need my thoughts on that. But I will say this, I am fortunate when it comes to my work that I talk to many people from overseas. And I have colleagues that work in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, and they are terrified. They've had no involvement, they're just terrified of what's happening. And I think this is the thing, as much as us as Formula One fans might love the Bahrain Grand Prix, might love the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, might love night races because of, you know, how flashy it is and how cool it is and how exciting it is. Let's pull away from the safety of it, because there is obviously the safety element, which is the reason why these have been cancelled. Can you imagine the feeling, right? The feeling of being one of the locals here. You are terrified for your life. And then in a couple of weeks' time, there's a race being held at your country as if nothing's going on. It's so sad to see. Now, if we're talking in terms of like the gap now, right? Let's forget about that. You know, we could go, well, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. We haven't even entered April yet. Is there no chance of booking any race? And you might be, you know, forgiven a bit for thinking, well, hold on, when we had the, you know, in 2020, we booked Imola last minute, Portimao last minute. I think there was a couple of others that basically came back on Turkey last minute. Grand Prix that were booked at the very last minute. Why can't we do this again? You know, surely, like, it must be easy. Well, there's a reason why we could book things last minute during the COVID pandemic, because there was only one rule and instruction that was that was given out to Grand Prix tracks. Is there some element of control to the COVID pandemic? And do you have a track? There was nothing else to consider because these tracks weren't doing anything else. They were just sitting there, doing nothing. However, now these tracks are in utilisation. The very fact that they are in, well, they're well maintained, they're in good repair, shows that they are hosting races. Now, granted, maybe there could be like a track that might be able to do it last minute, but it's unlikely, right? And the organisation that will go behind this, i.e., the very fact that the announcement has come in about the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix was because it was around this weekend that F1 teams would already be thinking about sending stuff to Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Because of the transport costs and also like the time it takes to build these paddocks up. These paddocks are built up almost like a couple of weeks beforehand. That's how it works. In a sense, the deliveries are already being thought about in terms of the races a month from now. So unless we get something tomorrow, we wouldn't get anything in April, right? In fact, next week they're probably already thinking about sorting out deliveries for the races in the 3rd of May, right? That's just how it is. And I think it's good, actually, to be doing this, right? Because it gives us an opportunity to reflect. Yes, reflect on the mundane stuff. Is the racing any good? Is it Mario Kart? Do you know you're racing? Do you not? Are you on the side of Max Verstappen or Fernando Alonso or Lewis Hamilton? Or, you know, are you hoping for George Russell to win the title? We could discuss all that rubbish. But to have 1 month of quiet, just to think about what is going on, just to consider the situation. And like I said, I'm not really thinking about it from a political perspective. I'm thinking about it from a human perspective on the people whose lives are affected by it all. That's it. Bit of a downer on the end of this video, but a I felt it was important to talk about it. And look, there's stuff that we have discussed that I'm sure people agree with and people don't agree with. So, who is your underrated, understated winner of the Chinese Grand Prix? Do you like the racing or do you not? What are your reasons for it? And just any other thoughts? Pop them in comments down below. And feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. And until next time, all that's left to say is take care.